So, welcome everyone to the Parallax Poetry Salon. I have my good friend Owen Cox here tonight, who is without a doubt a poet. So, how I've been introducing these poetry salons every week is by reading a poem to connect us with the lineage of poets. That kind of reminds me or makes me think of the person who's reading. So I'm going to read one that everyone knows, and then I'm going to pass it over to Owen. The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood dim tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, and a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all are about it real shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast in its hour, come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. So, Owen, can you read us some poetry, my friend?
Absolutely. And what a pleasure to be started with that. I mean, actually, my laptop is sitting on top of him right now, so it's perfect. So this work is called Morrigain Heights. And just a few words of introduction, hopefully not too many. It was written formally in the summer, the same weeks as we were having those horrific race riots in the UK, which I think was really one of the lowest points of this country that I've ever seen. Just everything miserable. And I don't want to go on a political rant. I think people probably have a sense for it. Um, Tensions over immigration, murdered children, Twitter stirring up all sorts of chaos. And yeah, dark time. And I think that's reflected in the poem. Morrigain Heights, towering over a tip-tumble empire in collapse, watching the wardens of 1,000 greedy sons bearing knives into the streets in a haze of war. Tower black antennas rip-roaring the ecosphere, satellite intensities pulsing violence upon the immensities of flesh boiled in the streets between gentler souls. Burn, 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 cries the doomslinger. Ether charters burning Crispot's cellophone beneath a chattered charburned aristocracy on film, all warbled with lust and recriminations for the failure of a manifest paradiso. Sing the songs of freedom and burn the flags as warriors are saddled in their graves for newer crimes. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tocking vengeance over the battlements, brown skin and white steel, vomiting over the legacies of Europe, quaintly thrown up upon the pavement in the shadows of the heights. There, in the basement, crick-crackling amidst slabs of cocaine concrete misery, all legacies of expansion fence for the glory of a parking lot. Let me be here, cries the first. Let me be here, cries the second. Let me be here, cries the third. And all along the doom-scrolled horizon, torches blaze smoke and skulls from raped religious carcasses. Two tiers of life, one face of death. Thus forces the native peoples of Europe, drenched in hatred by the half-dead circumstances who lord the airways from their palaces of fumes. Doom scroll pirating carcass deftone meltdown pyrotechnics while fracture patterns beat FM radio echoes into the footsteps of camel trade warriors. Scimitars sheathed across desert flights in anticipation of battlefare washed monolith software immigration. Police visuals are perforated by regular upload rhythms, bites of breadline desperation kissing sharp upon the bounding drum of pro.gress.approach and decline. Stage flight stimulations in the battered empty corridors of the heights, tower blocks signaling international campaign solidarity with the unlovable debris of the earth. Hard no is vetoed by do-good algorithms installed like cockroach mess into the wallpaper, the yellow stain pattern creeping like piss over the floor as desperate girls sell their navels for images, snap, 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 snapping away. Teenage girls shaving their snatches to feed a foreign warrior installation program. Alert, there is a problem. Please delete unnecessary files like law, theft, robbery, murder, dignity, ordinality, ordinary solidarity, morality, compartmentally explosive, overloaded with doomscroll vibrations half crated in the piss beneath the bed. Nobody leaves the heights, but outside shines London, dreaming of white girls born from banking and journalism credit loans amending the sins of Christendom past. Meanwhile, continent flesh boils in the mainframe, currying like meat to feed a multicultured fetish god. Berghain rhythms screeching altered perforations with racist overtones beneath a sequence of synth noise. Palm tree neurosis seeping into ordinary fantasy, driving Ibiza cycles of chemical longing for exotic beats and cocaine rhythmic warfare. Subhuman hunters seek plausible deniability in subterranean fora where packages of sex are micro-distributed in vast replication membranes. Even the innocent reveal dry fixations at the level of erotic pixelation, driving large-scale Babylon cascades, artificially inseminated religious conversion. Abraham is jackwired into Warhammer 40,000 as Gothic terror fomentations afflict Jesuit routine, tumbling increasing fluxes of sublime assiduation into neo-Baroque golden lust architectures. Narrative unfolds into telegram scaffolding, poetry increasingly redundant as a measure of time, as eternal now becomes everybody's unique selling point. Artistic effort increasingly deployed in the generation of quasi-artificial reality bubbles, increasingly laboring in accelerated differentiation purposes. Tribal warfare is inevitable, with extreme arbitrary itemization vector heightened by roaming devils of digital libido. Driver possession becoming normal as berserk shaman ghosts dance on electronic surfaces in search of cathexis. Prostitutory neo-urination dragging nicotine depression out into dissolved into uterine contractions, rendering feminine pleasure a monstrous indictment of life below the heights. Cult conversion density becomes a proxy for personality types as Oedipal residue is sublimated electronity into mother cult zombie apocalyptations. Liposuction serving the needs of a few, while silicon expansion practices amplify reasonable human expression quotas to unmeasurable spikes. Hysterical matriculation follows, warrior cults emerging to ride the Morrigan excesses into new cultural dead zones and sacred ganglands. Feminism quaking between the demands of neo-patriarchy and cyber Kali, fluxing Amazon Web Services between masturbation videos and violent submission fantasies, clitoral stimulation coalescing into full-spectrum breast orgasms torn open by razor bursts of vengeance, vaginal excrement subverted into pleasure possibilities as labiaplasty becomes an educational norm, excess mammalian tissue becoming a proxy for economic success as opportunities for neo-peasants dry up. Flashing nature burns red light cave dances into suburban high wire media performances. Erected prosthetics marking miniaturized quanta of pleasure streaming in digibyte hypestream ADHD ameliorization packages. Bodies scream as HD carbon focuses on milituide alterations of hormonal density, revealing laboratory patterns of technovolved speciation matched with undergraduate level statistical processing. Nightlife fuzz drifts the specimens away from the heights for an artificial moment of sexuality, run cross-wired with cannibal status warfare and competition stakeouts. Condom rapid morning packets break through lung cancer savorizations of orgasm denials, while electrophone triplets bring distributed arousal gains to a wiser, disinterested audience. New interference declares these mammal games a crime and sets up standardized submission checkpoints for verified pseudo-Sharia. Insurrection maps pointing to fault-line breaches in the pocketbooks of metropolitan faggots. Again, pseudo-Sharia pulverizes dissent onto the vestiges of Augustinian freedom as long torches align to burn infidel children. Backwashed London, immersed in its cage like a stage plague. No ammo, still no ammo, but BBC Britain is laughing, knowing we're headed that way, like a Morrigan TikTok storyline borderline crisis. 999, here we go again. Help me, please. Please, God, help me. My daughter is bleeding. Dear God, bleeding. What should I do? Should I feed her? Should I bleed her more? Is she an animal? A psycho-animal? A psychoanalyzable atomic strawman mammal? A flammable shadow for the next stage of global expandable shrapnel? Listen to the man on the podium pretending we are not in full-scale collapse. Meltdown mode enabled, sanity press disabled, cabled between scars of surgical memory. Racing to the trough where pigs suckle, death knuckle, hibernetic death patterns screaming over the burial ground. Sounds polluted, eh? 10 gigabytes of memory and a drum thrumming away, nothing more. Come, some people will lie to get anything. Enter Amanda, who marches down the stairwell from the 47th floor, where her mother is screaming, and passes a slug of a soldier half maimed from the latest war. He begs for bread. She turns away and leaves him in his sweat for the next Brazilian backwash handjob to take slum pity on his stumps. She's too proud. She marches to the nightmare parlor on ground floor basis, demands the presence of 2 iron sterilized skewers to drive blood flash through her tits. Now with hematonin initiation marking her womanhood flex beneath cotton like an invitation to sexual warfare, she marches on, a siren calling adrenaline to full flush trauma meltdown. Fast forward 5 minutes, and the pictures are online, tweets storming the battlements of foreground dignity as greed libido seeks its latest portal into the collective mammal sink. Electroteric feedback from approval signals uploads a registered interest in the biolog, strong-arming further alterations of animal sexuality into artificial patterns of conformal arousal. She shows off how she battles men by showing them her naked skin beneath her blouse on the stairways of Morrigan Heights. She's made up quite a name. She gave to head to one of the many Mohammedans in the toilets at school, and they all made noise about it, then dragged her home by the hair to spit on her before the Heights. Why the fuck did you do that, whore? Says Uncle with his cigarettes and crisps, shaking his head with disgust, stinking of beer. He slaps her about behind the pub and tells her, tell no one. She cries and gets a tattoo that says love. Now she spends her nights in rock bars doing coke with musicians doing coke who are twice her age and paying for it. She's run out of tattoo ideas. Her mind is tired. Therapy says think positive. But in the Heights, there's nowhere to think, nowhere to go, nowhere to let go of the junk. So she falls down the stairs and breaks her neck. The hospitals shake their ears and send her back. And now she sits and smokes up on the 47th floor and looks out at her wonderful world.